The planet Erebus was a gray and broken world. From space it looked like a dirty ball of rock. On the ground it was worse. The sky was never blue. It was a dull orange, full of smoke from the endless fighting. The ground was cracked and dry. Nothing green grew there anymore. This was the human colony, a place that had been at war for generations. The humans who lived here were tired. Their enemy, the Cathar, was strong and relentless. The Cathar were not like people. They were a species of insect-like creatures. They had hard shells for skin and many limbs. They did not speak. They only chittered and clicked. They did not want to talk. They only wanted to conquer. For 50 years the people of Erebus had fought them, and for 50 years they had lost slowly. Deep underground, safe from the attacks, was a bunker. This bunker was one of the last strongholds. Inside the air was cold and smelled like metal and old dust. The walls hummed with the sound of machines that kept people alive. This was where the soldiers lived and planned. It was also where they kept their last great hope, a hope that had never spoken back. In a quiet, guarded room, a young soldier named Gina stood very still. Next to her was her friend, another soldier named Min. They were both looking at the same thing. It was called the Aegis suit. The suit stood on a stone platform in the middle of the room. It was made of a material that was blacker than the darkest night. It did not shine. It seemed to swallow the light around it. It looked like the silhouette of a powerful person, but empty. It had no eyes, no seams, no buttons. It was perfectly smooth. It was not a machine you could turn on. It was a thing you were supposed to talk to. A thing that was supposed to choose you. It had not chosen anyone for a very long time. An old man named Mr. Park moved slowly around the platform. He was the keeper of the suit. He had looked after it for most of his life. He used a soft cloth to wipe dust from the platform. Even though there was no dust, it was just something he did. "It is quiet today," Mr. Park said. His voice was soft and full of sadness. Like every day, Min crossed his arms. He was a practical man. He believed in things he could hold and use. His rifle, his boots, his rations. This silent black statue was not a thing he believed in. "It's a waste of power," Min said. "This room uses more energy than the medical bay. For what? A rock that does nothing." "It is not a rock, Min," Mr. Park said patiently. "It is a judge. It listens. It waits for the right person." "It has been waiting for 50 years, Min replied. "How many people have tried? The strongest soldiers? The smartest scientists? Even that psychic woman from Earth? It rejected them all." "It is broken." Gina did not say anything. She just looked at the suit. She did not feel the anger that Min felt. She did not feel the hope that Mr. Park talked about. She felt something else, a deep tiredness. She looked at the suit and it felt familiar. It felt as silent and as still as she felt inside. The war had been going on for her whole life. Her parents had fought. She was fighting now. She saw no end to it. The suit standing there forever was like a symbol of that endless fight. A fight that never moved, never changed, and never ended. "Why do you keep coming here, Gina?" Min asked, turning to her. "It just makes you sad," Gina finally spoke. Her voice was quiet. "I don't know, it feels honest." "Honest?" Min laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "It's a lie. A promise that was never real. We need real things. We need more soldiers and more guns." Mr. Park shook his head. "The suit is more than a gun. The legends say it is alive. It is made of biotechnology. It can think. It can feel. It bonds with its wearer. They become one. A new kind of being. It did not choose the strong or the smart. It is waiting for the right heart." "We don't have time for the right heart," Min said. "The Cathar are pushing closer every day. Soon even this bunker won't be safe." Just then a low rumble shook the room. Dust fell from the ceiling. The three of them looked up. It was not the first time they had felt a rumble. But this one felt closer. Another rumble came, stronger this time. The lights in the room flickered. "That was not far," Gina said, her body tensing. A sharp electronic alarm began to blare through the bunker. A red light flashed, spinning in the corner of the room. A voice came over the speakers, calm but urgent. "Breach alert. Sector 7 is compromised. All security personnel to defensive positions." "This is not a drill." Min immediately grabbed his rifle from where it leaned against the wall. His face was all business now. The conversation about the suit was forgotten. "Sector 7 is right above us," he said to Gina. "We have to go. Now." Gina took one last look at the Aegis suit. It stood, dark and unmoving as the bunker shook around it. It did not react to the alarms. It did not care about the breach. It was waiting. She turned and followed Min out of the room, both of them running into the noisy, chaotic hallway. Mr. Park was left alone. He looked at the suit and sighed a deep, weary sigh. Perhaps today, he whispered to the dark form, but the suit gave him no answer. The hallway was chaos. Soldiers were running, pulling on their armor. People were shouting. Families with scared children were being rushed to the deeper shelters. The air smelled of fear and ozone. Gina and Min ran towards the sound of the fighting. It was a sound they knew too well. The sharp crack of human plasma rifles. And the other sound. The chittering, clicking noise of the Cathar. It was a sound that meant death. They reached a large metal door that led to Sector 7. The door was bent and scarred. Something very strong had hit it from the other side. 2 soldiers were firing their rifles through a crack in the door. "They're coming through," one of them yelled. Min pushed forward. "Fall back. To the reliquary hallway. It's a choke point." The reliquary hallway was the corridor that led to the room with the Aegis suit. It was narrow and easy to defend. It was also the last line of defense before the main living areas of the bunker. The soldiers retreated, firing as they went. Gina and Min moved with them, stepping backwards, their rifles aimed down the hallway. Then, the main door to Sector 7 broke apart with a terrible screech of metal. Through the smoke and dust, the Cathar came. They were tall, with 4 arms. 2 of the arms ended in sharp scythe-like claws. Their bodies were covered in a hard brown shell. Their heads had no eyes, just a mass of twitching antennae. They moved quickly, skittering along the walls and ceiling. Gina fired her rifle. A bolt of blue plasma hit the lead creature in the chest. It shrieked and fell, but 3 more took its place. There were so many. "Back! Further back!" Min shouted. They ran backwards around a corner into the reliquary hallway. They were getting closer to the room with the suit. The fighting was fierce. The air was hot with plasma fire and the strange, acidic smell of Cathar blood. Suddenly, a huge shape appeared at the end of the hallway. It was a Cathar breacher. It was bigger than the others. Its shell was thicker and its claws were massive, dripping with a green acid that smoked when it hit the floor. It was a living battering ram. The breacher slammed into the soldiers at the front of the line. They were thrown aside like toys. Nothing seemed to hurt it. Its shell deflected the plasma fire. Min, Gina, and a few others were forced to retreat again. They backed right through the open door into the reliquary room itself. They were now in the same room as the Aegis suit. The door. "Close the door!" someone yelled. Min and another soldier pushed the heavy metal door, trying to shut it. The Cathar breacher slammed into it from the other side. The door groaned and bent inwards. With a final, powerful shove, the breacher forced the door open and stepped into the room. It was huge, filling the doorway. Its clicking noise was deafening in the small space. The soldiers fired everything they had. The plasma bolts bounced off its thick chest plate. The breacher looked at them with its sightless head. It raised a giant dripping claw ready to smash them all. It was then that Gina saw Mr. Park. He was on the floor near the platform, clutching his leg. He must have been hurt in the chaos. He was trapped. Min's rifle beeped. It was a sad, low sound. The power cell was empty. He was out of ammunition. He looked at Gina, his face pale. This was it. This was the end. They had run out of hallway. There was no more retreat. Gina's own rifle felt heavy in her hands. She knew she only had 1 or 2 shots left. It would not be enough. She looked at the monster. She looked at her wounded friend, Min. She looked at old Mr. Park on the floor. She looked at the other soldiers, their faces filled with terror. She felt a calmness wash over her. It was not bravery. It was acceptance. She was so tired. Tired of running. Tired of fighting. Tired of watching people die. She was tired of this war that never ended. Her eyes moved from the monster to the dark, silent suit on the platform. It was still just standing there. It did not care, and in that moment she did not care either. She did not want its power. She did not want to be a hero. She just wanted the fighting to stop. She wanted the fear to end. She wanted peace more than she wanted to live. She lowered her rifle. It clattered on the stone floor. The sound was small in the noisy room. Min looked at her, confused. "Gina, what are you doing?" Gina did not look at him. Her eyes were fixed on the dark, empty face of the Aegis suit. She took a slow, deep breath. "Enough," she whispered. Then, she said the words. They were not loud, but they were clear. They were filled with all her pain, all her weariness, all her hope for an end. "Let's end this." The alarm was the loudest sound in the world. It screamed through the bunker, a constant high-pitched wail that meant danger. The red light in the ceiling spun around and around, painting the walls in flashes of emergency red. Gina and Min ran. They left the quiet room with the suit and entered the chaos of the hallway. People were everywhere. Soldiers rushed towards the fight. Families with scared faces hurried in the opposite direction, towards the deeper shelters. A mother carried a crying child. An old man limped as fast as he could. The air was thick with shouting and the smell of fear. "To Sector 7, Min yelled over the noise. He held his rifle tight. His face was all focus now. This was what he understood. This was real. Gina ran beside him. Her heart was pounding, but her mind was calm. This was a dance she knew well. The run towards the fighting. The smell of burning. The sound of plasma fire. It was the same every time. Only the location changed. They reached a wide hallway that led to Sector 7. This was one of the upper levels, closer to the surface. The noise here was much louder. They could hear the distinct sound of the fight. The sharp zing of human plasma rifles. And the other sound. The chittering and clicking of the Cathar. It was a sound that made your skin crawl. A soldier stumbled back towards them, his uniform torn. There was a green acidic burn on his arm. There through the main door. He gasped. "We can't hold them." "Fall back to the reliquary hallway," Min commanded. "It's narrow. We can defend it better." The reliquary hallway was the corridor that led to the room with the Aegis suit. It was the last defensible position before the enemy reached the heart of the bunker. The living areas, the medical bay, the children's dorm. They joined the retreating soldiers. Everyone moved backwards, firing their weapons down the hallway to slow the enemy down. The air was hot and full of smoke. The lights flickered, making the shadows jump and twist. Then, with a final terrible screech of tearing metal, the main door to Sector 7 gave way. It was blasted off its hinges and fell inward with a crash that shook the floor. Through the smoke and dust, the Cathar poured in. There were so many. They were taller than a man, with long, thin limbs. Their brown shells looked hard and shiny under the lights. They had no eyes, but their heads swiveled, their antennae twitching, sensing everything. They moved in a jerky, fast way like giant insects. Some ran on the floor. Others scrambled along the walls and ceiling. Their clicking was deafening. Gina fired her rifle. A blue bolt of plasma shot out and hit one of the creatures in the chest. It shrieked and fell, its legs kicking. Two more immediately jumped over its body. They were endless. "Move back," Min shouted. The group of soldiers ran backwards around a corner and into the narrower reliquary hallway. This was better. The Cathar could not swarm them from all sides here. They formed a line, shoulder to shoulder, and fired into the oncoming tide. The narrow space filled with the bright light of plasma and the shrieks of dying Cathar. For a few minutes it seemed to work. The soldiers held the line. The pile of Cathar bodies grew, creating a small wall that slowed down the others. But then a new sound started. A heavy rhythmic thumping. Thump, thump, thump. It was the sound of something very big coming down the hallway. The smaller Cathar parted, making way. A massive shape appeared at the end of the hall. It was a Cathar breacher. It was twice the size of the others. Its shell was a darker, thicker brown like old wood. It had 4 huge arms, each ending in a claw the size of a shovel. A green acidic liquid dripped from its claws, smoking where it hit the floor. The soldiers focused their fire on it. Dozens of plasma bolts hit its chest, but they just bounced off or sizzled out on its thick shell. It was like throwing pebbles at a tank. The breacher did not even slow down. It lowered its head and charged. It smashed through the line of soldiers as if they were not there. Men and women were thrown against the walls. The sound of breaking bones was sickening. The breacher kept coming, its target now the door at the end of the hallway, the door to the reliquary. "It's going for the suit," someone screamed. Min and Gina were among the last soldiers standing. They backed quickly through the open doorway into the reliquary room. The dark, silent suit stood on its platform, unaware of the chaos. "Close the door," Min yelled. He and 2 other soldiers put their shoulders against the heavy metal door and pushed. It was slow and heavy. The breacher was getting closer. Its thumping steps were shaking the floor. Just as the door was almost shut, the breacher arrived. It slammed into the door with the force of a truck. The impact threw Min and the others back. The door flew open, smashing against the wall. The breacher filled the doorway, its huge body blocking the light from the hall. Its clicking was a sound of pure hunger. The other soldiers in the room fired their rifles. It was useless. The plasma bolts did nothing. The breacher took a step inside. It swung one of its giant claws. A soldier was thrown across the room and did not get up. Gina fired her last few shots. She saw the blue bolts hit the creature's head. They left small black marks, but nothing more. Her rifle beeped. The power cell was empty. She looked around. The other soldiers were also out of ammunition or wounded. Min was on the floor, clutching his side where the door had hit him. He looked at her, his face full of pain and fear. Then Gina saw Mr. Park. The old custodian was not a soldier. He had probably come to check on the suit when the attack started. He was crouched behind the stone platform, but a piece of flying metal from the door had cut his leg. He was bleeding, trapped and helpless. The breacher took another step into the room. It scanned the area with its twitching antennae. It seemed to decide that the black suit on the platform was the most important thing. It moved towards it, ignoring the people for a moment. It was going to destroy the Aegis. Min saw it too. He struggled to his feet. He had no weapon left. But he picked up a piece of broken metal from the floor. It was a stupid, hopeless thing to do, but he was going to try. He was going to protect the suit or die trying. "No, Min," Gina shouted, but it was too late. The breacher noticed Min's movement. It turned its head. It was annoyed. It raised one of its dripping claws, ready to smash Min into paste. This was the end. Gina knew it. They were all going to die here in this room in front of this silent, useless suit. All the fighting, all the years of struggle had led to this. A stupid, meaningless death in a dark hole. A great tiredness washed over Gina. It was deeper than fear. It was heavier than sadness. She was just so tired of it all. She looked at the black suit. It was so calm, so still. It did not care about the monster. It did not care about their deaths. It had never cared. And in that moment, she stopped caring too. She was not a hero. She was just a tired woman at the end of a very long war. She did not want to fight anymore. She did not want to run. She just wanted it to stop. All of it. Her fingers went numb. The empty rifle slipped from her hand and clattered on the stone floor. The sound was small, but in the tense room everyone heard it. Min looked at her, confused. "Gina?" Gina did not look at him. Her eyes were fixed on the dark, empty shape of the Aegis suit. She took a slow, deep breath. She let go of everything. The fear, the hope, the anger. There was nothing left inside her but a single clear wish. Her voice was a whisper, soft but firm. "Enough," then she said the words. They were not loud, but they were absolute. They were not a plea. They were a command to the universe. They were filled with the weight of a lifetime of loss. "Let's end this." The air in the room changed. It became thick and heavy. A deep hum started, so low that they felt it in their bones more than heard it with their ears. The stone floor began to vibrate. The Cathar breacher paused, its huge claw still in the air. Its antenna twitched wildly, sensing something new. Min stared, his mouth open. The dark suit on the platform was moving. It was not moving like a machine. It was moving like something alive. The smooth black surface rippled like water. Then it flowed. It poured off the platform like liquid shadow. It moved across the floor faster than anything Min had ever seen. It reached Gina in a heartbeat. She stood perfectly still, her eyes wide. The black liquid surged up her legs. It wrapped around her body. It was cool, not cold. It felt like slipping into a calm, dark pool. She did not fight it. She did not feel afraid. She felt a strange sense of rightness. The substance covered her completely. It formed a second skin of pure, polished darkness. It molded to her shape, becoming a seamless suit of armor. A helmet formed over her head, its surface just as smooth and featureless as the suit had been on the stand. Where her eyes were, there was only a blank, dark surface. Inside the suit, Gina was not in darkness. Her mind was flooded with light. Information poured into her thoughts. It was not words. It was pure understanding. She could feel the structure of the room around her. She could feel the heat signatures of her friends. She could feel the aggressive, hot energy of the Cathar breacher. A part of her mind highlighted the creature's weak points, a spot at the base of its neck where the shell was thin. A joint in its leg? She understood everything. The suit was not just armor, it was a partner. It was sharing its mind with hers. They were one being now. The breacher recovered from its surprise. It decided this new black shape was the biggest threat. It forgot about Min and the others. It let out a loud clicking roar and charged at Gina. Its giant acid-dripping claw came down to crush her. Gina moved. She did not run or jump. She simply was in one place, and then she was in another. She moved with a speed that was impossible for a human. It was a blur. The breacher's claw smashed into the empty stone floor where she had been standing. The impact cracked the stone and sent green acid splashing everywhere. Gina was now standing beside the creature. She did not have a weapon. But as she thought of needing one, a blade of pure white light extended from her right forearm. It was not fire. It was solidified energy. It made a soft, humming sound. The breacher turned, confused. It swung its other claw at her. This time, Gina did not dodge. She brought her arm up. The light blade met the hard biological claw. There was no sound of metal hitting shell. There was a clean, slicing sound. The tip of the breacher's claw, larger than Gina's head, fell to the floor and twitched. The creature shrieked in pain and rage. It backed away, its antennae trembling. Min could only watch. He had scrambled back to where Mr. Park lay, pulling the old man to relative safety. He watched the black-suited figure move. It was Gina, he knew it was. But it was also something else. Something more. It was grace and power. It was purpose. He saw the blade of light cut through the claw like it was soft butter. He had never seen anything like it. The other, smaller Cathar soldiers, who had been waiting in the hallway, now rushed into the room. They saw their leader wounded and swarmed towards the black suit. Gina turned to face them. She did not wait for them to reach her. She moved into them. It was not a fight. It was a harvest. She moved through the group of creatures like a wind. Her light blade was a blur. She did not make big, dramatic swings. Her movements were small and efficient. A quick slice to a leg, a precise cut to a neck, a stab into a weak point in the chest. She moved so fast that the Cathar could not touch her. They swung their claws at empty air. They clicked and chittered in confusion. They fell one after another. Their bodies piled up on the floor. The strange smell of their blood filled the room. Min watched, his heart pounding. He saw the black suit move without a single wasted motion. It was like watching a perfect dance of death. It was terrible. It was beautiful. He understood now why the suit had chosen no one before. It was not looking for a soldier. It was looking for a weapon. And Gina, with her simple, tired wish to end the war, was the perfect hand to hold that weapon. In less than a minute, all the smaller Cathar were dead. The only one left was the breacher. It was still dangerous, but it was now afraid. It backed away towards the broken door, its injured claw held close. Gina took a step towards it, then another. She was in no hurry. The breacher decided to attack one last time. It put its head down and charged, using its whole body as a battering ram. It was a desperate move. Gina stood her ground. As the massive creature was about to hit her, she sidestepped with that impossible speed. At the same time, she brought her light blade up in a smooth, powerful arc. The blade cut through the breacher's neck. The charge continued for another step, but the head was no longer connected to the body. The huge body stumbled and crashed to the floor, sliding until it hit the far wall. The head rolled to a stop near Min's feet. The antennae twitched for a moment and then were still. Silence fell over the reliquary. The only sound was the soft hum from Gina's light blade and the faint crackle of dying energy from the dead Cathar. Gina stood in the middle of the carnage. The smooth black suit was untouched. No acid, no scratch, no mark. The blade of light retracted back into her forearm, disappearing without a trace. She turned slowly to look at Min and Mr. Park. Min felt a shiver of fear. He was looking at his friend, but he was also looking at this powerful alien thing. He did not know what to say. The featureless helmet of the suit looked at him. Then, a soft light glowed from where the face would be. The black surface became slightly transparent. He could see the faint outline of Gina's face inside. It was calm. It was still her. She walked towards them. Her steps were silent on the stone floor. She knelt down in front of Mr. Park. The old man looked up at her, his eyes full of tears. But they were not tears of fear. They were tears of wonder. "I knew," he whispered. "I knew it was waiting." Gina reached out a hand, covered in the black material. She gently touched his wounded leg. A soft blue light glowed from her fingertips for a moment. Mr. Park let out a gasp. The pain in his leg faded away. The bleeding stopped. She then stood up and faced Min. The silence was heavy. Min finally found his voice. "Gina?" he asked. It was a small, hopeful sound. The helmet tilted slightly. When she spoke, her voice was different. It was still Gina's voice, but it was layered with another sound. A calm, deep electronic tone. It was the voice of the suit, speaking with her. "I am here, Min," the harmonized voice said. We are... Okay. What is it?" Min asked, looking at the suit. "It is the Aegis," Gina's voice replied. "It is a partner. We understand each other now." "Understand what?" "Why the war never ends," she said. She turned her head, looking towards the doorway, as if she could see right through the bunker walls and up to the stars, and what we have to do to finish it. The silence after the fight was strange. The alarms had stopped. The clicking of the Cathar was gone. The only sounds were the quiet hum of the suit and the heavy breathing of the soldiers. Min helped Mr. Park to his feet. The old man's leg was no longer bleeding thanks to Gina's touch. They both stared at her. She stood in the middle of the room, a figure of polished darkness. She looked like a statue that had decided to move. Gina turned her smooth, helmeted head towards them. The black surface where her face should be became transparent again. They could see her eyes inside. They were calm. They were the same Gina, but they saw things they had never seen before. "We need to talk to the commander," her voice said. It was still layered with the deep electronic tone of the suit. The bunker's commander, a tired-looking woman named Captain Lee, arrived quickly. She came with a team of soldiers. They stopped at the doorway, their eyes wide at the scene. The pile of dead Cathar, the huge breacher, and Gina, encased in the legendary suit. Captain Lee was a practical woman. She had never believed in the Aegis suit. She saw it as a myth. Now she was looking at the myth, and it was standing in a pool of alien blood. "Gina," Captain Lee said, her voice cautious. "It is us, Captain," Gina replied. The suit's voice was respectful but firm. "What? What happened here?" "The Aegis has activated," Gina said. "It has chosen its partner." Captain Lee looked from Gina to the suit and back. She saw the power. She saw the potential. A slow smile spread across her tired face. This was it. The turning point. "This is incredible," Captain Lee said. "With this, with you, we can push them back. We can retake the surface. We can win this war." Gina was silent for a moment. The suit's blank face looked at the captain. "No," Gina said simply. The word hung in the air. Captain Lee's smile faded. "What do you mean, no?" "Fighting on the surface is not the way," Gina explained. Her voice was calm, like a teacher. "We would win battles, but we would not win the war. The Cathar are not an army like us, they are a hive." "A hive?" Min asked, stepping closer. "The suit is showing me," Gina said, tapping her helmet gently. "It is sharing its knowledge. The Cathar are like ants or bees. They do not think for themselves. They follow one mind. A queen. A Nexus queen." Mr. Park nodded slowly. "It makes sense. Their coordination is too perfect." "The queen is not here," Gina continued. "She is far away. She is on a ship, hidden in their main fleet. She controls all of them. The soldiers we fight here? They are just limbs. If you cut off a limb, the body grows a new one. We have been cutting off limbs for 50 years. We are tired. The Cathar are not." Captain Lee frowned. She did not like this. She wanted a simple solution, a super soldier to lead her army. "So what is your plan?" the captain asked, her voice tight. "The suit was not built to fight armies," Gina said. "It was built for one thing, a single precise mission. It was built to find the Queen, and to silence her." A cold feeling settled in Min's stomach. Silence her? How? Where is she? "The suit can feel her," Gina said, looking towards the ceiling, towards the sky. "She is very far, but the Aegis has a way to travel. It can jump. It can take us to her." "Us?" Min asked. "Me and the suit," Gina clarified. "It is a part of me now. We go together." "You want to go to the heart of the Cathar fleet? Alone?" Captain Lee was shocked. "That is suicide. Even for that suit. It is a fool's mission." Gina turned her full attention to the captain. The calm power coming from her was overwhelming. "Captain, why do you think the suit chose no one for 50 years? Gina asked. "It tested the strongest soldiers. It tested the smartest scientists. They all failed." "Do you know why?" No one answered. "It did not want a warrior," Gina said. "A warrior wants to fight. A warrior wants to win battles. The suit does not care about winning battles. It only cares about ending the war. The others, they all wanted to use the suit for their own reasons. For glory, for revenge, for power." She paused, letting the words sink in. "I did not want any of that," Gina said, her voice becoming softer, more like her own. "When I spoke to it, I had no hope left. I was not trying to use it. I was just tired. I did not say let's win. I said let's end this. That is the only thing it wanted to hear. That is the only purpose it has." The room was very quiet. They understood now. The Aegis was not a weapon of war. It was a weapon of peace, the most dangerous kind. "So you will go to this Queen," Captain Lee said slowly. "And then what? You will fight your way through her entire guard?" Gina's helmet shook slowly from side to side. "No, that is what a warrior would do." "That is not our purpose. Then what will you do?" Min asked, his voice full of worry. "The suit has many abilities," Gina explained. "It is not just for fighting. It can communicate. It can send a message, a very powerful single command, a command that the Queen must obey, a command that will go to every Cathar everywhere." "What command?" Mr. Park whispered. Gina looked at her friend Min. She looked at the old custodian. She looked at the tired captain. She gave the answer, and it was the simplest, most final word she could say. "Sleep," she said. The word echoed in the silent room. "Sleep." "You can do that?" Captain Lee asked, her voice full of doubt and a little hope. "That is why the Aegis was made," Gina said. "It is the only thing that can do that. But it must be close to the Queen. It must touch her network. We must go to the source." Min looked at his friend. She was going to leave. She was going to travel across space alone to face the heart of the enemy. He wanted to argue. He wanted to tell her it was too dangerous. But he looked at the dead Cathar around them. He thought of 50 years of war. He thought of Gina's tired eyes when she said the words that woke the suit. He knew she was right. This was the only way. "When will you go?" Min asked. Gina looked at him, and he could have sworn she smiled behind the helmet. "Now," she said. The command center of the bunker was crowded and tense. Captain Lee had agreed to Gina's plan. There was no other choice. It was the only plan that made sense. But no one liked it. Sending one person against the entire Cathar fleet seemed like a fancy way to commit suicide. Gina stood on a large open platform usually used for repairing vehicles. This was the only place in the bunker big enough for what was about to happen. Min stood nearby, his arms crossed. He looked worried. Mr. Park stood next to him, his old eyes full of a strange hope. Technicians and soldiers watched from a safe distance. They all stared at the black-suited figure. They had heard the stories. Now they would see the truth. "Are you sure about this, Gina?" Min asked. It was the third time he had asked. Gina turned her smooth helmet towards him. Her voice was calm when she spoke. "Yes, Min, we are sure. This is the only way. But what if you can't get close? What if their ships shoot you down?" "The suit can hide us," Gina explained. "It can make us invisible to their sensors. We will be like a ghost. We will walk right through their walls, Min shook his head. It was all too hard to believe. But he had seen her move. He had seen her cut through the breacher. He had to trust her. Captain Lee walked up to the platform. The scanners show heavy Cathar activity in orbit. Their mothership is there. It is the largest energy signature we have ever seen. That must be where the Queen is. Gina nodded. That is the place. Good luck, soldier, Captain Lee said. She saluted. It was a respectful, formal gesture. Gina returned the salute. Then she turned to Min and Mr. Park. Take care of everyone, she said to Min. I will, he promised. His throat felt tight. Gina looked at the old custodian. Thank you, Mr. Park, for keeping it safe. For waiting. Mr. Park smiled, his eyes wet. Go and finish it, my child. Go and bring us peace, Gina gave a final nod. Then she turned away from them. She looked up at the rocky ceiling of the bunker, but she was seeing far beyond it. She was seeing the stars. She was seeing the enemy ship. Inside the suit, her mind and the suit's mind worked together. They found the location of the Queen. It was like a bright, loud signal in the quiet of space. They locked onto it. The suit began to glow with a soft blue light. The light gathered around her feet. It swirled and pulsed like water. Ready? Gina asked the suit inside her mind. Ready, the suit whispered back. A feeling of certainty. The blue light flashed, becoming so bright that everyone had to look away. There was a sound like a deep breath being sucked out of the room. The air pressure changed for a second. When the light faded, the platform was empty. Gina was gone. For a moment, there was only darkness and a feeling of falling. Then there was light again. But it was a different light. A cold, strange green light. Gina was now standing in a gigantic room. It was not a room made of metal and wires. It was a biological room. The walls were made of a wet, pulsing flesh. Thick, vein-like cords ran along the ceiling, glowing with green energy. The air was warm and humid. It smelled like a swamp and something metallic. This was the throne room of the Nexus Queen. The room was huge, larger than the entire bunker she had left behind. And in the center of it all was the Queen. She was enormous. She was not a creature that could walk. She was a vast living machine. Her body was a mountain of pale, soft flesh. She had a large round head with 1,000 tiny black eyes. Her mouth was open, showing rows of sharp teeth. But she was not eating. She was connected to the ship by hundreds of thick, fleshy tubes. They pulsed with light and fluid, feeding her information, feeding her energy. She was the mind of the Cathar. And she knew Gina was there. A deep psychic scream filled the room. It was not a sound for the ears. It was a sound for the mind. It was a command of pure hate. It was a command to destroy. From the shadows of the fleshy walls, the Queen's personal guard appeared. They were different from the soldiers on the planet. They were bigger. Their shells were a shiny black color. Their claws were longer and sharper. They moved with a silent, deadly purpose. There were dozens of them. They charged at the small black figure in the center of their sacred room. Gina did not run. She did not summon her light blade. This was not a fight she needed to win by killing. She just needed to reach the Queen. She started to walk. She walked straight towards the massive creature. The first guard reached her. It swung its claw. Gina did not even break her stride. She moved her arm, and a shield of solid white energy appeared from her forearm. The claw bounced off it with a loud clang. She kept walking. 2 more guards jumped at her from the sides. The suit on her back rippled, and 2 more energy arms sprouted from her shoulders. Each arm held an energy shield. They blocked the attacks effortlessly. Gina kept walking. The Queen's psychic scream became louder. It was a sound of frustration and growing fear. The guards attacked in a group. They came from all directions at once. Gina finally stopped walking. She planted her feet. The suit glowed brighter. Now, she said inside her mind. The suit released a pulse of energy. A wave of pure, white force exploded outwards from Gina's body. It hit the guards and threw them back. They crashed against the fleshy walls and did not get up. The path to the Queen was clear. Gina started walking again. She was close now. She could feel the immense psychic power of the Queen. It was like a storm in her mind. The Queen was pushing against her, trying to break her will. But the suit protected her. Its calm, single purpose was a wall that the Queen could not break. Gina reached the base of the Queen's massive body. She looked up at the mountain of flesh. The 1,000 little eyes looked down at her, full of hate and confusion. One of the thick, pulsing tubes that connected the Queen to the ship was within reach. Gina reached out her hand. The black material of her glove retracted, showing her own human skin. She placed her bare palm on the warm, wet surface of the tube. The connection was instant. The Queen's mind rushed into hers. It was a vast, ancient, and terrible mind. It was a mind that knew only one thing: expansion, consume, grow. It had no concept of peace. It had no concept of friendship. It was a hunger that had lasted for millennia. But Gina and the suit did not fight the hunger. They did not argue with it. They simply showed it a different idea. They showed the Queen the feeling of rest, the feeling of silence, the deep, dark peace of a dreamless sleep. The Queen resisted. Her will was strong. She pushed back with images of worlds burning, of species falling, of endless conquest. Gina did not push harder. She just held on. She was a single, calm point in the middle of the storm. She and the suit focused all their energy, all their purpose, into one simple command. It was not a request. It was an instruction, a new law for the hive mind. The command was, sleep. For a moment, nothing happened. The Queen's mind raged against them. Then, a change began. The command was too powerful. It was sent directly into the core of the hive network. It spread from the Queen through the tubes out to the fleet and across space to every single Cathar in existence. On the planet Erebus, Min and the others were waiting. They stared at the scanners. Suddenly, the readings changed. The Cathar, signals which had been moving and attacking, all stopped at the same time. Every single one. In the trenches on the surface, a soldier watched in shock as a Cathar warrior, who was about to strike him, suddenly froze. Its claws dropped. It stood perfectly still for a second. Then, its legs gave way, and it collapsed to the ground. It did not move. All across the battlefield, the same thing happened. The war just stopped. Back on the Queen's ship, the enormous creature let out one last, weak, psychic sigh. The hate in its 1,000 eyes faded away. They slowly closed. The huge body relaxed. The pulsing in the tube slowed and then stopped. The green light in the room dimmed. Silence. A deep, total, and absolute silence. Gina removed her hand from the tube. The connection was broken. The job was done. She stood there for a moment, looking at the sleeping Queen. She felt no joy. She felt no victory. She just felt peace. It was over. She activated the suit's travel function. The blue light gathered around her once more. Back on the bunker platform, Min was still staring at the empty spot. Captain Lee was reading the reports, her face stunned. "I don't believe it. They're all down. They're not moving. It's like they've been switched off." Then, the blue light flashed again. When it faded, Gina was back. She stood on the platform, the black suit still covering her. The smooth helmet looked around the room. "Gina!" Min yelled, running towards the platform. "Did it work? The scanners say they all just stopped." The helmet retracted, melting back into the suit. Gina's real face was visible. She looked tired, but she was smiling a small, peaceful smile. "It worked," she said. Her voice was her own again, soft and sure. "It's over." She stepped off the platform. The suit made no sound. Mr. Park put a hand on her arm. He was crying, but he was smiling. Gina did not become a famous leader. She did not make speeches. The suit never left her, and she never tried to remove it. It was a part of her now, a quiet partner. The war was over. The Cathar slept, and humanity began to rebuild. On Erebus, the gray sky slowly began to clear. For the first time in 50 years, people saw the stars at night without fear. And whenever anyone asked about the woman in the black suit, people would say, "She was the one who wanted an end, and she was the one who found it."